Today is Wednesday. It's our weekly enlightening session. And today's topic is on how to land a cybersecurity job. Why this topic? It's really related to the problems, right? Cybersecurity is a very hot domain, and globally, people estimate, actually, industry estimate there are 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity jobs, right? So in Canada, the number around like 6,000 or 5,000 or 6,000. So on one side, you have a lot of opportunities. But on the other side, we also get a lot of feedbacks from people saying, okay, seems like it's not easy to get a cybersecurity job. So how can I enter to this field? Looks like there's a lot of opportunities, good pay, fast, like a growing opportunity. How can I tap into that? And in fact, I also observe quite many people, especially if it's your first job, you encounter certain challenges and difficulties. Hopefully you don't give up because this is a really good domain, but you probably experience some common problems. And at the end of the day, I hope you don't feel really frustrated. Then you think about what's the problem? Is that the resume problem? Is that the interview problem? Is that my experience? Or is that because I don't have a certifications? Or what certification do I need to get? Or is that because my skills? Or is that because some industry tools I don't know, because those commercial tools are expensive, I never get a chance to work on that one? Or because I don't know people, or I don't have connections with people, I don't know people there? Or it's just for people find the job, is that just a pure luck? Right? So is that I'm just not lucky one to get the job? So those are common things. All those things play some factors in your job hunting process. So instead of I talk about myself because I probably a little bit different because I'm old because I already in the industry for 20 years. So a lot of things I talk about maybe not relevant to you. So I want to bring two kind of new graduates. They recently found their professional job in cybersecurity and ask them to share their insights, their challenges, their stories, and hopefully can give you some ideas or thoughts or trigger the things and help you to move forward to land on a good cybersecurity job. Let me introduce our experts here. We have Enlighteni. Enlighteni recently got a job. Actually, you got a job several days ago, right? So you kind of let me know. And also Ita, she found a good job this year. So I have those two people come to share their insights. Each of you get 5 minutes. You can talk about your story. So who wants to start?
Okay, I can actually just start.
Okay, yeah, cool. Right. So if
Yeah.
any, you go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I will actually describe my job experience, job hunting experience as one that is energy draining and sometimes actually filled with conundrum. I got to understand that some people actually found this relatively easy, while people like me found it extremely difficult, right? One of the factors that kept me going during all this time was just that aptitude. There is that aptitude to keep motivating myself, and also having people to also motivate me because it's quite difficult, right? And sometimes I concentrated on my goals because I tried to build networks, leveraging on LinkedIn and cybersecurity meetups as well. I attended several of those meetups and I volunteered on several cybersecurity events as well, like and the B-side Toronto. I also kept myself informed on cybersecurity trends, current trends as well. But while having those setbacks, I kept improving my skills. When I finished from Lambton College before starting the masters, I actually did the GIAC certification, the GIAC certification incident response. And you know what triggered me to actually do that certification and learn that's part of the skills, but through a rejection. After getting a rejection from a company, and I was actually given a task to analyze packets, right? I did that and I found it interesting and I loved doing it. So that triggered that interest and I proceeded to doing the certification and learning that particular skill. I did that skill. So I must mention I had lots of interviews during all these times, but oftentimes I got a lot. I got to the final stage, but the rejections became a routine. Like the rejections keep coming. I usually send a follow-up mails just to find out where I'm lacking and where I should improve on. But oftentimes that comes with no response. So I have to sit back and start thinking back. What have I done wrong? What should I have done better? I usually keep a note, right? So I developed a note. I usually put down interview questions I've been asked previously that I probably don't know about. I wrote them down and I try to learn to understand what those topics are. So I think getting the first jobs involves every element, like you mentioned, like skills, resume, interview, luck, and of course, importantly, networking too. And sometimes just one of those mentioned will make the difference. It might just be the connection, just alone can actually get to the job. It might just be experience just alone. It doesn't necessarily have to be to encompass all those elements to get that first job. That is what I learned and I persevered, and every rejection taught me something important. Yeah. So that's it for me.
All right. Okay. So, if any, you actually touch on a lot of interesting things and actually important things, right? So, you mentioned the perseverance. You mentioned you actually. I think from my experience, like impression about you is you really are like a dedicated in this one, and you kind of come up with your systems to do things, right? The one you mentioned, like you put a notes, like so the record all the interview questions and learn from this one, which shows a lot about your personalities. And we will talk more, comment on. I'm sure the audience has a lot of questions. So for people join, feel free to type your questions and comment. And we will want to make that interactive. So after those two people share their insights, we will open the floor and then we will talk to each other. All right, cool. All right, so thank you very much, Ifani. And now we move to Ida. So Ida, can you share with us your story?
Hello, everyone. So last year, I got a job in a cybersecurity field. Before that, I had a time between my graduation, after the graduation, and landing to the cybersecurity field. So I was attending the meetups. And best part to land into the cybersecurity job is improving your skills, getting experience from the expert people to like meet them in the meetup or some sessions, attend some online events, and like refreshing your skills every time. And also, as Ifani mentioned about the notes, so I was doing the same thing. Like when I go to the interview, I was taking the notes of all the interview questions, and when I come home, we don't know what we get a reply from the employer, but still, like, you need to refresh your skills on the interview question answer as well. So I practice myself in front of the mirror how to speak with the employer, as well as some of the skills that you need as a cybersecurity analyst. Like I also talk with the expert, and they some of them suggested about the certification as well. So I also go for the certification like CompTIA Security Plus, as well as I had an interest on cloud, so I took the certification for the AWS, and still I'm doing it. Also, the Azure experiential learning that Bryan Li is doing great about it. And unfortunately, I cannot participate in that, but I'm willing to participate in that. It's a great experience to land into the cybersecurity job, because you need skills, you need experience, and as well as you need a knowledge about the technology, what's going on in the market, what employer needed. Well, you can do it easily online as well. Like there is a lots of resources and tools available. You can just sit on your home on lap with your laptop and just study. So you need more and more study. One more thing is resume as well. So resume, like how to build a good resume. So what I did, I go through each and every profile on the LinkedIn, what they are doing, what keywords they are mentioning in their resume. Like it's okay, like if you don't know, just you can use that keyword in your resume, but you cannot copy paste. Just it's by on your own knowledge, on your own word. Just write it down, whatever you know, just write it down, the small little things about network, about technology, about the skills that you have, you can mention in your resume. And you let them know, the employer has to know what you have a skills or experience or the technology knowledge. So that's the one thing that I was doing it before. And of course, if you get a job, after that you also need to be updated with the market. You have you need to have some knowledge about the technology also, like what's going on, what's the current scenario, what's the employer needed. So those are the things that I keep in mind. And also I talk with the expert, also I talk with the Bryan, and he also guided me for the job, like how I can prepare for the interview and the stuff. Thank you so much, guys.
This is a short story about themselves. I'm sure we will dig more into that because there's each sentence they are saying, actually, there's a story behind that, right? So there's a pros and cons, there's challenges they experience. I quickly tell with you guys my experience with those two fellows. Both of them actually were my students at Lambton College. And when I experience with them, those are two different from many, many other students. So two of them, like including me, we all immigrants to Canada, right? So we're from different countries, and Canada to us, although to me it's like 20 years ago, the story, but to them it's a couple of years. So this is a country different than what you get used to. And oftentimes your experience in the past cannot directly translate to here, right? So you have to adapt, which not only you need to adapt to the cybersecurity field, but also the culture, the way people are working, the way people are thinking, what kind of things they are looking for. There are so many things you need to think. But those two, I would say one thing, they're very dedicated to their career success. Because I can quickly tell after class, normally people, like students, okay, because evening class, they want to go home. But those two usually stay late. Usually they came to me to ask all kind of questions, and they also participate all kind of events, all the things, learning also, which shows their dedication about learning. But does that mean they can easily get a job? Actually not, right? So each of them, I know the story behind, they kind of also experience a lot of struggles. So maybe instead of we know there's a happy ending, right? So they all got a job. But during this process, what kind of challenge or difficulty, if you can name one or two, each of you, so and also share with us, how do you overcome or kind of getting better from there? So maybe if anything you want to share?
Okay. I think one of the things I noticed was the importance of building networks, connections, right? I like Etta mentioned, there is that essence, there's that importance of getting the right resume. But like I said, different elements worked at different time, right? But one element that I realized that works almost all the time is the connection, having the right person that will actually speak for you, having the person that will actually believe and see your dedication and believe that you are capable of doing the job. There's a difference between having the skills from education, from learning, and there's a difference between having the skills while on the job, right? So sometimes you need somebody that will just push you through, somebody that will just believe that, okay, I think you are capable and you'll be able to do this. And that is one challenge, because what I usually do in order to circumvent that challenge was I leverage on LinkedIn, like I mentioned before. I leverage on LinkedIn. So when I apply for jobs, I try to identify people that work in that job, right? I identify people that work in the company, and then I try to look at people that are working in the field, in the cybersecurity field, and in the area of my passion as well. So I try to build relationship with them, and I try to let them see where I'm coming from and what I can do. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you get response back. Sometimes some of them are actually very welcoming, and it goes. The relationship extends even beyond you not getting the job or getting the job, right? I've actually built relationships from there, even after not getting the job. But that is something I found very important, and it can be challenging if you're not really someone that is good in communicating or building a connection. But if you really want to strive and really want to succeed in this field, I think that's one element that shouldn't be ignored.
Excellent. So, if any, you really mentioned some important element here is a connection, and in fact, that connection gave you my opinion. So, give you a couple of things. One is so you learn something at school, right? So there's all kind of fundamental things that's really important. Those are important, but the industry also are moving, right? So as you know, like a college, university, all those curriculums, usually they are a couple of years behind because we need to have a time to develop the course and also those things, right? So what's going on in the industry? What's hot? What kind of things people are using? Or what kind of key players in the industry? What tools you need to use, right? So those are the things. While you are learning the things, you also need to get the insights from maybe events, from experts, from like a coach, mentor. So get that idea. So you know what's current. Another, of course, is the guidance, mentor, advice, and when you enter to some fields, what kind of things look like? What's the day of life look like? What kind of skills you may want to acquire? So connection actually give you a lot of things, and also not mention there may be some hidden job opportunities, right? So through the referral, through this bypass some a lot of middle layers, right? So you can directly present you to the hiring managers, in front of hiring manager, rather than go through the machine, HR, and all those middle layers. All right, Ita, what do you think? What kind of challenge you encountered?
When I was looking for the job, my first challenge is the interview. Well, in back home, I was also working as an analyst, but they have the different environment, and here in Canada, they have the different environment as well. First challenge I found is in the interview. So, what kind of how can you answer the question? Employer will ask you the question, but what is the proper answer? There is nothing wrong and nothing right, because when you enter in the interview process, there is some scenario you need to pass on. No matter how, you need to pass on that scenario, but the thing is how you do it, how confident you are about it. If you don't know about the technology, what they are using in the company, if you don't know about it, that's okay. They will give you the training, because employer, it's when you get into the field, you will need a training to familiar with their environment. So that was the first thing, like how can you answer the question when you don't have a knowledge about this, their technology or their skills. So you need to let them know honestly, because if you don't tell them, then they will not know about it, and you will not get the training, and after that you will get into the trouble. So get familiar with the technology and be honest with the employer. Also also on the resume building, like as I mentioned before, you need their most keywords in your resume will land into the interview process. So those are the two things that I face challenge on it. And I talk with the experts. So as Ifani mentioned about the connection, of course it's needed, like it's must in the IT field, because you never know when you get a referral, or if you know the person and that person will be your employer, you don't know about it. Because you will get to know about the technology and the skills, but that's the thing, that having the connection in the field, so you can get into the easily, and they will guide you as well, like how to pass on the process.
Perfect. So Ita mentioned some like interview and resume tips. So I also see people putting down the chat. So there's one question. I think who asked that question? Jenny. Jenny asked that question. What are the most questions they ask in the interview? Right. So among all those interviews, what are the most popular questions they ask? Right. So although yeah, different jobs, different things. Any insights on that?
Okay, yeah, it's especially if you are moving to an entry position. One of the standard questions that you usually get is, what is cybersecurity? Right. So that is one question that will always come up, and people always have different answers to that. But I get to understand that no matter the answer you give to that, if you fail to mention the CIA, you actually failed that question. So that's one question that usually come up, and questions like TCP and the three-way handshake. These are questions that usually come up. But after that, it now goes into what is on your resume, right? So the questions are not tailored into what is on your resume, but on the general landscape, it's all about, okay, what is cybersecurity? And that is the first question they usually ask. And then sometimes, why are you into cybersecurity? Why choose the field? So that's one two questions I usually I come across a lot.
Why this question is important? Why everybody ask you what is cybersecurity? It seems like a fundamental question. Why do you think this question is important? What does that mean? What do they try to understand you? So what do you think?
I think the question amounts to to get an insight on what you really understand about what cybersecurity is, right? Most folks that get into cybersecurity, especially from moving from different fields, just understand cybersecurity is all about firewalls, all about tools, and not understanding there is a fundamental behind it. And I think that is where what they are actually trying to get into. What is actually the fundamental? Why do you need those tools? And what are you trying to achieve by implementing those? So that's what I think about those questions, the questions in particular.
Perfect. Yeah. So really, that's just a big picture question, right? So first of all, they can quickly differentiate. Are you kind of just kind of touching cybersecurity on the small pieces, or do you have a bigger view about cybersecurity is about the framework, what kind of major domains it contains, right? So that's kind of quickly test you, because not only for because most of the job when we especially for junior people enter, they're still relevant like entry level. You will still do specific things, but you will quickly grow up. Company want to see, okay, when we like to develop you, can you kind of climb the ladders and build this view, right? So you, although you need to focus on one thing, but you also need to have a broader view about the things that will help you in the long run. Right, so that's great insight. Ida, what kind of question you encounter most in your interview?
So that's the main question, if I also mention about it. What you know about the cybersecurity and why you are interested in it. So how I answered that question is, it's your interest. If you are willing to learn it from starting of your career, like what are your interests, what are your skills that you have and you need to show to the employer. So that's the main thing, and your willingness to learn. If you don't know about it, that's okay, but they need your willingness, like how easily you learn it and how fast you learn it. So that's the main thing, that fast learner. So when you don't know and employer asks something about the technology, then you can mention that hey, I don't know about it, but I can learn it very easily because I am a quick learner or fast learner. So you can mention to the employer. And also about the some scripting language. So as a security analyst, you don't know the coding and the scripting, right? So, well, for me, yes, I didn't know anything about the scripting language or the coding, but then I realized that it needed because it your work gets done very easily. So when you need something to run smoothly, you need a script, so that you have to learn it. So that's I learned the Python about it, and then now I can do it very easily. Like if I need something, some result from the server, I can just write the script and then download it. It's very easy. So that's the main thing about it.
Excellent. So there's a question also. So what kind of programming language is popular? Ida already mentioned that she learned Python. Actually, there are a couple of others. Depends on what kind of things you are doing, right?
Yes.
So, for example, if you are doing identity and access management, because a lot of industry solutions still using based on the Java, so you need to learn Java to customize those components. So it really depends. But Python is also very popular. So Ida also to answer that question, reflect her, how do I say it, a continuous learning, right? So the commitment for the future success. That's the thing most employers, I think every employer is looking for. Because cybersecurity is a fast moving industry. You need to learn fast because every day there's new things coming. So although whatever things you learned before is important, but moving forward, how fast you can learn, how quickly you can adapt to the new things, that's also very important, right? So that's maybe more important than what do you have right now, right? So they want to get that picture. In fact, I would like to challenge both of you. There's one more question, even more popular than what you described. What is cybersecurity? The most popular question will be, can you quickly introduce yourself? Or just talk
Yes.
about yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Usually your first questions. So
Yeah.
what do you answer that question, right? So that's kind of like an elevator speech or the sales speech to sell yourself. So how do you answer that question?
If I may say, like the question actually, that question actually, I realized that question mostly comes from HR, right? HR are people that ask that question most all the time. Technical people are not really interested about that. They usually go through into asking you a bunch of technology stuff. And so usually how I answer the question about myself, I try not to talk much about what's on my resume. Because already they have it. So I mostly talk about I mostly talk about myself and talk about my interest in cybersecurity, my goals in cybersecurity, and I usually talk about the activities I engage in as well. Like I mentioned, I remember when Bryan Li started the meetup as well. I usually mention events like that and the voluntary activities I participate in. So that is how I try to coin the question. Then I give the answer, and I usually avoid talking about my resume because I believe they have my resume.
Yeah, so because the resume, they probably already they have to read that, otherwise you won't get the interview opportunity. So they already know that one. So that's one way to answer this question. Really, is to add the additional value to show what's different about you, right? So what's something they don't know on your resume, because you have the opportunity to talk in person. That's great insight. And Ida, what's your suggestion? Well, what do you say?
So what I decide when I go to the interview, it's your 5 good point about you. First 5 point that you can answer easily, like what you are, and 5 weak point as well, because employer will ask you for sure. Because I got that question, what are the weakest point and what are the good point about you? So and yes, they mention about the 5 good point about you. So as if you heard a talk or talk with the expert, they will also mention this thing, like what are the good point about you. So I mentioned those 5 points about me and also the weak point, so that that will start the conversation what you are.
Very good, very good. So, which also shows Ita very well prepared, right? So, one thing you come to the interview, you have to prepare because think about that. You send out maybe 10 resumes, only get one interview opportunity, right? So, you really need to fully use that one because otherwise, if you miss that, probably you miss a big chance, like a opportunity there. All right. Actually, I also saw people putting there. The first question people ask you, okay, talk about yourself or something like that, right? So, behind the scene, what's this question? You can also translate this question to another way to answer that. Really, is why should I hire you? So that's actually a great question. I think who is this? Martins. So you put that nicely. Or another way to look at it, what do you bring to the table? Right. So for the company. So in a way, how do you answer this question? You need to show first one thing you need to cover is I'm qualified for this job. So at least so which shows your understanding about the keywords and the key requirements. But that's not enough. You have to show the best of you, your strengths, what's unique about you, what make you different than others. And also you maybe also want to show certain personality to towards okay all the things for the future. So company think about not only your past, but we can hire you because when company hire you, it's not for your past. They really want to hire you to do the job for the future, right? So the future fit is really important. Some skills you may not have right now. For example, you may not familiar with this tool or that language, or may not even have some certification, but you show your continuous learning, you dedicate to this field, are willing to like develop you, right? So in the future. So that's the thing you want to talk about. All right, cool. There's a question, I think also a good question, certifications, because people like this question because oftentimes we think about we have to have something, then it's like I need to have A, then I can have B, right? So of course, the more you have, the better. The more you learn, the better. So speaking of you too, what kind of certification you got and why you got that and what's the thought process about that? If any, you want to share?
Hector, you want to start? Okay. I earlier on mentioned about me doing the GIAC certification. And how I got to do the certification was actually through an interview, a task I was given to analyze the packet, which was the first stage of the interview. So, like I said, I was still at college. I enjoyed doing that, and that actually pushed me to doing the GIAC certification. So the things that actually moved me to doing certifications is my goals actually and the skills that I'm much more interested in. I I ended up the more I do interviews and the more I speak to people, I realize that I want to be as diversified as possible that I can be. I try to be dynamic. So I identify skills that will help me achieve that goal. And I learn those skills and I try to acquire certification, just as I did with the GIAC certification with you. That's the experiential learning where I did Azure. Before I actually started the master's program as your IT, I had a plan already that I want to learn cloud security. And I actually did that in my project in school. And so you came up with the experiential learning and it fits into my plan and my goals. So I had to do that because it's a way of improving my skills and learning a new skill. So for all certifications I've done, the idea is it part of my goals? Is it something that I'm passionate about? And I go for it if it is. I usually try my best to go for it, no matter how difficult or no matter sometimes no matter how expensive it is too. And it's funny enough, even when the jobs are not coming, I still keep doing that because I understood that the benefit is for me, right? So even if job is not there, but I benefit from learning those skills, and those are skills that will push me up the ladder to actually expand and do a lot of things. So that is the way I do certification. And it might not necessarily give you the job, but it helps in the long run.
Excellent. So what I can see is one is you follow your interest and something related to your course, right? So because normally in the academic course, you don't have too many like a practical experience, right? So you find those industry related certification related to your course and also build the practical experience. And one thing you mentioned, of course, the Azure security, which you just finished. And I'd like to mention, Ifani did a really great job in our cloud security expansion learning course. And right after that course, he also got the the Microsoft Certified Azure Security Engineering certification. Although we don't emphasize like a certification, we more emphasize the practical experience. But Ifani achieved both. So he got a great in the practical project. He also got the certification from Microsoft. So that's a great achievement. Ina, what do you want to say?
So certification will give you the boost up because to refreshing your skills. Well, you have the skills, but by doing the certification, it will give you more confident about the technology. So for the security analyst, the basic certification that we need, it's okay if you don't go for the exam, but you need to prepare it. Like if you need to mention in your resume that you are preparing for it, so that will give you the highlight to the employer that you know about this skills, that certification has the requirement. So that's the one thing. Also uh, uh, I personal interest. So I wanted to learn about the new technology. So I always prepare for the new certification and new technology, AWS, Azure, as well as a proper cloud security stuff. So those are the things that you need to have some basic knowledge. And if you are interested more about it, you can go till the expert level. So that gives you the boost up your job search.
Excellent. So yeah, so certification will get you prepared for at least a vocabulary, right? So you know, let's say it doesn't matter what kind of certificate. It could be a CISSP, Azure, AWS, like a penetration test, a CEH, whatever. So when you learn those certification, in a way you learn the vocabulary, you learn the keywords, and in the professional world, when people talk to each other, you need to speak the same language, right? So if we talk about cybersecurity, you'd better using a lot of keywords in the cybersecurity. Although you can describe the same thing from different ways, but when you describe the things from, let's say, from IT, typical IT way, or like a system admin way or network way, it's different from what you describe from security way, right? So that would differentiate people, especially for hiring manager, recruiter, they can quickly tell, are you a cybersecurity professional or are you like IT or are you like a different role, right? So they can tell. The more you incorporate those keywords, vocabulary into your resume interview, the better you are, for sure, that's one. But you also mentioned, both of you mentioned, certification cannot replace your practical experience, right? So, and a lot of times I observe, so I also collect a lot of certifications. Some of the certification, when I finish that, pretty much just forget about it. And I couldn't even recall some of the certification. When was the last time I picked it up and really work on that one? But the one I remember most is really I apply the skills into the work, right? So it doesn't mean how many certifications you are. So it really is how many certifications you can really apply and it really can help you. That's the key. But anyway, so you guys, what I can see is, if any, you got the Azure security, right? So Azure part of cloud, and ETA you have AWS, right? So there's some certification related to that. So which also means besides your cyber security things, you also have a cloud. So cloud is if you think about in the future, what's the industry is moving, cybersecurity will be heavily involved with the cloud, right? So if you don't understand cloud, because a lot of companies move away from on-premise like infrastructure, move to cloud, and especially after COVID-19, where is the on-premise? Where is the classic corporation wall? it will disappear. So you have to pay more attention on the cloud, the new world. So that's actually one of the direction you put there. Okay, what else? Soft skills. So some people mentioned the soft skills. Jenny also mentioned the soft skills. Okay, what is the number one soft skills you think is the most important to help you along the road? There are many soft skills. Just name one.
I think communication is one that I consider really important. Uh, because sometimes you realize that you also why you understand the technology. Sometimes you really need to be able to explain the technology and explain what you are doing, and some of the security you have to. Sometimes you talk to folks that are not really into security, right? So you need to break down the information and break it down into a level they can understand. So communication is one skill, soft skill I think is quite important as well.
Yeah, excellent. So Ida,
Also, yeah, so the team building and problem solving skills, like how you took the problem and how you can solve it. So that's also the two things that I highlight on the session. Team building, it's the most important as well.
the team building. Can you elaborate? Give us an example, right? So, because still a little bit vague to me. So, can you give an example why team building is so important?
So when you are doing something by your own, it will be hard. But if you do it in a team, like if you do it together, if you bring the problem to the table, discuss with your team, like, hey, this is going on, and what suggestion that you give to solve this problem. So by that you will that can shows that you are okay to take the suggestion, and also if you are wrong about something, then you can learn it from their suggestion. So that's the thing that you can discuss with the team and then get the solution.
Excellent. Because a lot of times when the people think about cybersecurity, they pretty much have a old impression about hackers, right? So you feel like a cybersecurity professional, kind of like sitting in front of a computer, type fast, and get things to they can do the job by their own. But in fact, it's not. Especially when you work in the large organization, you need to work with a team. And not only cybersecurity team, the broader team, right? So you could interact with, if any also mentioned communication. So communication will also help a lot for the team, team collaboration. So the team, not only security team, but any other team like development, business, finance, operation, all those things. And specifically when you job, for example, like Ida, when you're working in the, let's say, security operations center, right? So you need to work with your peers, you need to escalate the things, and you need to,
Yes.
as a team effort to resolve a problem. Rarely it's just you, right? So you have to kind of like work as a team.
Also, one thing I've mentioned, Brian, about like you can do it attitude, like how you can do it, how positive you are about the thing. So that can show that you are okay to do that job. So
Excellent.
can do attitude, I can say as a keyword.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And also your attitude. Attitude is very important, right? So cybersecurity, a lot of times cybersecurity job, you have to say a lot of no to others, right? So you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you do this. At the end of the day, you unless you kind of like keep the positive attitude, kind of like you have to say, okay, how can I change the mentality, right? So how can I, instead of I just say no, how can I help, right? So how can I empower or enable other teams to achieve what they want?
Right.
Okay, so there's a question, I think, what's this? Okay, so back to communication, because not everybody understands cybersecurity, right? So oftentimes you have to do a lot of educational work, teaching work, all the things, right? So back to Evgeny's point, communication. So we know some like complex terms, for example, because you're in there. So you, when you, for example, in the in cloud, you probably know, okay, this is a virtual network, this is a firewall, this is like a virtual machine, then there's a policy, all those things. But for people not familiar with this, you have to translate those terminologies for the something other people can quickly understand, right? So that also kind of during the interview, people want to sense. So that's why they ask you this question: what is cybersecurity? Think about, you need to explain the same question to lots of people in your company, right? So because you are the cybersecurity professional, you need to do it. That's your job. It's part of your educational job, right? So that's very important here. Okay, let me see. I can pick up any other questions here. So there's a question. I don't know if you guys can answer, because they say, okay, so cybersecurity looks like a technical job, right? So people, especially with the IT background, it will be better, maybe faster to get this job. But for people maybe from business background or operational background, so not kind of a developer or not like an IT admin or not as a network specialist, do they have an opportunity to start in cybersecurity? What do you feel? Yeah, you go first.
For the business background people, they can I can suggest something like about the audit thing. So for the auditing, they don't need that much technical knowledge. They need some of the standards about the yeah, I mean, technically, I say it's a ISO standard, the policies that government decided about the company and about the technology that they has to meet their criteria, then they can do that business. So those kind of things, governance thing, they can land easily to the cybersecurity field if they are not from technical background.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great answer. Because if you are not in the technology, pure technology, which means you are not set up firewall rules, you are not building the IAM rules policy, you are not like in the software development things. But cybersecurity is very broad, right? So there are many, many domains. One of the domain Ita mentioned is risk management, security and risk management, and including security operations. So a lot of times what you are dealing with, all those compliance requirements, regulatory and compliance requirements, which require you understand, like a lawyer, right? Understand all those rules, right? So the business rules, the standards, and also the compliance rules. Then you map that one to review what do you have in your current security posture or the environment. So which we call risk assessment or compliance assessment or regulatory assessment. Those are the common activities security analysts will also do. In fact, we are developing right now a course, experiential learning for security analysts. So this security analyst, we don't require you to have a lot of technical skills, but pretty much like Ita mentioned, we will ask you to understand some like industry standard, for example, ISO 27001 or PCI or NIST, then how to apply those framework to analyze the security environment, the risk in your company. Right, so that's the thing coming. If any, what's your suggestion?
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing. Risk management and auditing compliance is actually the right way to go. Like you said, it's not much technical. It's all about understanding the fundamentals and understanding how things work. You don't really need to know the technical details or the technical know-how of how to implement those, but just knowing what is expected in the standards, in the policies, in terms of standard and compliance, and knowing how to meet the government regulatories as well. So I hope that that's actually where I'm going to too. I think that is the right way for anybody that is not really into technical know-how, technical skills to actually move into as well.
Excellent. And which also tells you the strategy for land a cybersecurity job, right? The strategy really not start with someone else. It really starts with you. Because I cannot tell you, if you ask me the question, how can I get a cybersecurity job? I would say, I don't know, because I don't know you. right? So the starting point is actually, what do you have? Where are you from? What do you know already? And what's your past? So those are the key questions. So for people, for example, I'm not a technical people, I'm more towards the risk. So what did you do before? Are you in like a auditing? Are you in the operation? Are you like in the kind of secure, not security for say, it's more like a business analysis kind of role? So what did you do? Are there any like in your past experience overlap with the security kind of activities? Although at that time you may not pay attention to that, but right now when you reflect those experience, you probably can rephrase that experience in different way, which also apply for some like the keywords, security keywords to that. So then your past experience will look differently, right? So that's a key. So really starts who you are, where you're from, and then of course need to say, okay, what do you try to achieve, and what's the gap there? And for people already have a years of experience, you are not aiming for the entry level job, or you have a certain industry kind of, for example, you have a banking experience, you have a certain like, let's say you're in the law firm, you are in the health industry, leverage those things. Don't waste it, because every industry needs a security, every industry needs a cybersecurity. So those are the areas you can leverage on. Okay, so let me see what's the here you learn the questions. Okay, some of them actually ask the immigrants things, right? So, so which I think three of us all can comment on that one. So especially for new immigrants, it's not easy. Forget about cybersecurity. Just talk about the security. So just talk about a job, or just talk about living like in this new world, a new country. So it's not easy, right? So you have to adapt a lot of things. So tell me one challenge you overcome.
Well, one of the challenges I actually had to overcome the first time I came into Canada was the transport system, right? It's pretty much different. You have to understand the north and the west and the east zone, how to get the bus, and actually how to use the map too, because that is something you have to learn. That is one thing too. That was the first challenge. I believe every immigrant have to, depending on where you're coming from, they'll have to overcome.
You need to know the map.
Exactly. You need to know the map, and you need to
Right,
know
right.
yourself, because several times you get lost, you take the wrong buses, you get down and you try finding your way, especially during the winter. That can be really difficult.
Nowadays, it's easier. You have a phone, you have a GPS, you have Google. Back to 20 years when I landed in Toronto, right? So I don't have nothing. I didn't even have a map, right? So have kind of have to rely on my intuition. Where's the east? Where's the west? Where's the thing? Okay. Ida, what do you say?
Yeah, same thing. The zone wise, northeast, west, south. I was standing in the south side, and bus will pass from the east side and west side. So I didn't know. So that's the first challenge I faced. And also the you came here by yourself, so you need to do job and study both together. So time management and some of the things that you need to do about yourself, so study as well as the job, and how you can manage both the things, that's the main thing I can say.
Excellent. All right.
Yeah.
And so we actually talk about a lot of things. So hopefully for people online, so you get some good valuable insights here and there. Although talk to different people, you may get different things, right? So it's good. We have about 35 people online today. That's actually a really good number, because we have around 50 or 60 people registered. Normally for online session, you only get like a 1/3 of people to show up. So which also shows people care about this topic. So hopefully you get some values there. So before we go, we schedule an hour session there. So I just want to check with everybody if you're okay to stay with another, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes. I just want to respect your time because we're supposed to end at 8. And while you kind of, for people, if you want to leave, totally okay. So for people want to stay a little bit, I think we can extend for 10 minutes. Are you okay, if any, and Ida?
Yeah.
Sure.
I know you need to work tonight, so thank you. By the way, Ita need to work, so really thanks for Ita to come, devote some time for tonight. So that's thank you very much. Same as Ifani. So we extend for 10 minutes, and people ask, do we record this session? Yes, we record this session. So after editing, we will share on the Enlighteni YouTube channel. So this is a new YouTube channel. So hopefully you will subscribe and also watch out our future things. So looking at that one, so you definitely, we have this weekly session there. To wrap it up, right? So I like to ask Ifani and Ida, one last, so before you leave, right? So what's the top? So if you can only think about one thing, what's the top suggestion or the top number one tip you want to share with the clients? You mentioned a lot of great things. What's the number one in your mind at this moment? Just trust your intuition you want to share with the audience.
So that's the hope I can say. Be confident and be positive. You will get a job, but keep updated yourself, keep learning skills and technology, and go for the interview as confident as you are. So that the best thing about you that you can show to the employer, and that will land to a cybersecurity job.
Excellent. The positive attitude, the go-to person, right? So I always mention that. Ita also remember, success is there, but you have to go to grab that, right? So
go
if
get
you don't
it.
try, you fail 100%. If you don't do it, you fail 100%. If you do it, you probably at the beginning maybe 10%, 15%, but you will have chance. And sooner or later, the time will play the important role there. As long as you dedicate, focus on the area longer enough, you will get there. Right. So of course, there's all kind of techniques, but positive attitude is a number one. Yeah. All right, Ifani, what do you say?
Rejections will always come. Is something that we all have to go through. So I think it's very important to know this, and it's very important for you to keep believing that through every rejection, there is something actually to learn from it. So you have to keep, like Ita said, you have to keep learning. You don't have to deviate from your goal. You can concentrate on your goal, keep learning, keep pushing. It will always come true. And also importantly, build connections, talk to people, leverage on LinkedIn, hack your way through the whole process. When I mean hack your way, identify those people that are actually recruiting, identify those people that are working in those companies that you are very interested in, talk to them, meet them, even when they're not recruiting, build a relationship, and that would definitely help in the long run. And that's what I want to share with you.
Excellent. The connection also very important, right? So that's actually a smart way to invest your time, because you can try hard way. You can keep trying the things, fail 100 times, but may not get a result. But if you play smartly, right, so you may get the different result quickly in shortest time, right? So that's a difference. I also saw people like put here, I think a question about the confidence, back to Ita's question. Experience, confidence, which one happened first, right? So experience will give you the confidence. Confidence will help you to gain more experience. It's kind of like a chicken and eggs, egg as a chicken. So my point of view is, it doesn't mean which one should happen first. It's almost like happening in the at the same time. And what I want to emphasize really is, you need to do something. So don't stop. You need to do something. Just think about you ride a bike, right? So at the early stage, when you learn ride a bike, you fell down a lot of times because you stop. You don't speed up. In fact, to get that balance, you need to speed up a little bit. You need to do it. You cannot just watch other people to do it. So where you get experience, you must do it, right? So emphasize experience, that's great, but it's not like just waiting for experience come to you. You have to take some actions. Small actions like, for example, joining an event, right? So that's so easy. Just like today, I congratulate everybody. You already taken the actions, right? So it doesn't matter it's a big or small. You took action. Compare with thousands of others are thinking about where can I get a job. You actually took a very good action to join this event, to learn things. So that's the experience you can get, right? So then accumulate those experience and learn more from there. Celebrate those small success, and you will feel more confident along the road, right? So experience and confidence hand to hand. But at the end of the day, it really means how much you do, right? So how much effort you put there, and are you keeping the right direction? Are you taking some advice from like experienced people, give you some like a guidance instead of you figure it out, you kind of try some way like other people already experienced? So that will actually serve a long run there.
Just to add up to that, the confidence. I remember during, let me say, my first 3 interviews, the confidence wasn't really there, right? That's why I said for every interview, every failure, or every rejection, there's actually something to learn. The more interviews I went through, the more confident I became. So I wasn't seeing interviews as a nightmare anymore, right? Sometimes I actually have an idea the kind of questions that they are going to ask. So that confidence builds, and you become more relaxed. And like you said, it takes time, not for everybody, but for some of us, it takes time. That confidence naturally builds in while you are doing it, and sometimes while you are failing as well.
Excellent. Yeah, so I think all those are great points. Of course, each person is different, right? So each job is different, and everybody's situation is different. You have to figure out your way. But there are certain fundamental things that are the same, right? So you have to keep learning. Learning gives you confidence as well. For example, like if any, back to, so we talk about the cloud security expansion learning, right? So this is a 6 weeks program. I found a lot of learners before they start, they didn't even have too much knowledge about cloud. They never built a VM on the cloud. They never even do that. But after 6 weeks, do you feel more confident in the cloud? So for typical interview question, for typical task, can you do it? You feel much, much more confident, right? So because you already done one end-to-end project, right? So you demonstrate your skills and you present that even during the contest. So those give you the confidence. Learning, hands-on labs, and practical experience and teamwork give you the confidence. But at the bottom line, doing give you the confidence. Right, so that's the most important message there. Cool. So everybody, you hear a lot of insights tonight, and thank you again, Ifani and Ita. So everybody online, so if you can just give them a virtual applause or just send some message on the online, so they contribute their time, come to share with you guys. Hopefully, you also get some value. Let's give them some applause.
Thank you, Bryan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bryan.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Bryan.
Thank you, Ifani.
No, thank you.
All the best.